This is Living Power with Dan Hurst.
Lord, I believe. Now I want you to notice something really important. The worship, his worship of Jesus, replaced his worship in the temple. The Jews had tossed him out. They had excommunicated him. They tossed him out of the temple. But Jesus does not cast out those who come to him. As a matter of fact, earlier Jesus had said in John chapter 6, verse 37, all the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever comes to me I will never cast out. Now, worship and trust in God is not about the rules and regulations. It was in the temple. It was all about rules and regulations. You have to act a certain way. You have to be this way. You have to dress a certain way. You can only come certain times, into the temple, and you have to wash yourself clean. And there were all these rules and regulations. None of those rules and regulations applied when you come to Jesus. You could toss every one of those out. All of those rules and regulations that applied to the synagogue did not apply when it came to coming to Jesus. Worship is about committing all that I am, that I understand, to all about God that I understand. And that's why people are at different levels in their worship, because they've got a relationship that's growing, and so as they understand more, it changes the way they worship and the way that they connect with God. And so worship is simply saying, look, I'm committing all that I am to all that I understand about God. So where are you in that process of understanding God and in your relationship? It affects your worship. We should never criticize people for the way that they worship. If they're worshiping a God who loves them, if they're worshiping the Lord Jesus Christ and following him, seeking him, why should we criticize the way they worship? I'll never forget Dad. I was at a mission trip one time with Dad, and we were in this church. And in fact, I think, Chris, you were with me, and some of you were with us in that. I don't know if you were or not. But anyway, were you on a mission trip that my dad was on? Yeah. I think it was our first one, wasn't it? And we were in that little church in La Masica, and man, they were worshiping, and they were just getting all excited. And there was a blind guy there with a turtle shell. And ever since then, Chris has wanted to beat the turtle shell in worship, and I won't let him. I happen to have a turtle shell, and I'm not bringing it to church because I don't want him to get kicked out, because you know how Baptists are. We do not play turtle shells in church. This guy was standing in the front row, and he's just pounding on this turtle shell, which is basically like a drum for him. It was a big turtle shell, big thing. Boom, 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 and he's beating this thing, and somebody else was shaking a tambourine, and people were singing, and my dad was just standing there. He was just, he was just I could tell he was just really frustrated about something. And he says, and I talked to him afterwards, and I said, so Dad, what'd you think about the worship service? He says, why do they have to be so noisy? I thought, you of all people, a missionary who has, led these people. This is a church that you helped start, and they're praising and glorifying God, and you're all upset because they're making too much noise. Worship should be, reverent and sacred. And I said, what, do you want them to sing How Great Thou Art 7 times, and just as all 17 verses of Just As I Am? Is that what you want? I mean, well, it wouldn't hurt, we're all at different levels in our worship. We're all at different points in our worship. And worship is just simply committing all that I am to all that I understand about God. And it affects the way we worship. Now,
on behalf of Dan Hurst and the Open Class, we want to thank you for watching. We hope it was a blessing.